Welcome to the seventh and final part of our Happy Place Home Studio series, Live Streaming from Scratch. In this chapter, we will talk about lighting for your live stream. Lighting is an amazing thing, and so many channels and people that create videos for YouTube and others do such an amazing job with their lighting. It really can help you appear so much more professional, clear, and really modern in your approach to your videos. As in other areas, I'm no expert at this. I have some basic lighting, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Now, as I sit here right now, I am simply using room lighting for what I'm recording. And, it works, but it makes such a big difference to have just a little bit more proper lighting with some of the gear that we'll show you today. Lighting can make a really big difference, even in a very simple setting like my studio. You'll notice some things with the simple lighting that I have. Difference in appearance. The black background is not so detailed. It's a little more hidden back there. So even in a simple setup, lighting does make a difference. But if you've watched very many YouTube videos, you know that some people create not only a wonderful lighting system, but also a great environment that's well lit. And we'll look at an alternative that I use here in my efforts a little bit later. But needless to say, lighting can be a terrific thing for your live stream. As with all subjects, there are many great videos for you to watch on YouTube about lighting that are not specific to any one solution, but just talk about lighting. And those videos will talk to you about 3-point lighting. 3-point lighting involves a key light, a fill light, and a backlight. Now, in my environment here, I'm really only using 2 lights. I'm using a key light and a fill light. There's not much point in having a backlight if you don't have a background. But a little bit later, we'll take a look at a background and in a different environment. So the key light is the main light that's on the subject in this case being me. The fill light will provide a little contrast and a little bit of shadowing for one side. And I like the advice that you get on many YouTube videos about lighting, that don't be afraid of shadows. Shadows provides a way to help your subject really stand out. If I turn off the fill light completely, using the controls that I have over the light, you can see shadow on one side of my face. And so the idea is to find the right amount of lighting rather than starting with the exact same lighting as the key light. Turning it down a little bit can provide that contrast. And you can find the right level that you like for lighting to make the subject pop. Now, you're going to get a lot more great information about lighting as a topic in general from one of many great YouTube videos out there. If you just do a keyword search on lighting for videos. So, what I'm going to talk to you about here is a specific solution that I use from Elgato. And any of you who watched this series know I really love Elgato's gear for live streaming. And they call their solution key light. Let's take a look. If you navigate to elgato.com, you will see whatever they have on their current version of their website, which does change periodically. And at the top, you will see there's a link for lighting. And underneath that, it will show you the different products. Go ahead and click on that. And you can see that there's a key light and a key light air. The difference between these two is that the key light is a larger light, much brighter, far more lumens. The key light air is smaller, easier to set up, less expensive, and a really nice solution, and that is what I'm using. So I'm going to go ahead and click on key light air, and you'll see at least currently, the site has a picture of the key light Air. It's a smallish light, not super small. There are much smaller lights out there. It's very well engineered, easy to set up. And if you scroll down the screen, you'll see that there is a video section that you can watch. And this video will go through a nice overview of the key light and some of its features and capabilities. Now, the setup that's shown on the screen right now is basically my setup. I have one on the right, which I am using as an actual key light, and another on the left, which is my fill light. These can be controlled over your Wi-Fi network, which is really nice. So you have essentially remote control of the lights, and that's easy to set up. That is true of both the key light and the key light Air. And obviously, the key light is the name of the product. It does not mean that you can only use it as a key light. You can use it as a key light, a fill light, probably not necessarily a backlight, but definitely as those first two roles. Now, I have to point out, there are hundreds of lighting solutions out there. I like Elgato products. They do a great job, but there are many other products that you can look at, purchase that are very specifically designed for the many types of video shooting functions that you might have. If you navigate to the site elgato.com/downloads, you'll be able to download the Elgato software for the key light Air. There are two drop downs here. The left-hand side lets you pick your product, and the right-hand side lets you pick what kind of system you're installing on. So we'll go ahead and pick the product. This is a tiny bit non-standard and a little bit tricky. Pull it down to the lighting section and pick key light Air or key light, whichever product you have. And then choose your system on the left-hand side. Now the screen will automatically pull up, just by making those selections, the products in this subject, and just simply click to download the key light Air. You'll notice a subtle resolution change here because I've switched to another system that does not have key light Air installed already in order to walk through the installation process. So I'll go ahead and click on the zip file, and we've got our Elgato Control Center. I'm going to double click on that. And that is going to walk us through the installation process. Go ahead and move that to the applications folder. And let's go ahead and run Control Center. Once you've got the key light software installed, there may be additional instructions that you need to follow depending on your setup to get the key light system on your Wi-Fi and talking to your computer. Please just follow those instructions and pick up where you have the key lights connected, turned on, and ready to work with the system. Like much Elgato software, the Elgato is very intimate to the Macintosh operating system and to the PC, and a little more than normal. It does not require all the installation, for example. It's just at a lower level of interface to the operating system. So you'll see that the Control Center icon here will, on a Mac at least, kind of automatically just pop up there without having to run any additional installation. So I've got my key lights installed, they're on the network, and they're turned on so that they're talking to my Wi-Fi network. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the Control Center, and you'll see I have the two key lights. Remember now, key light is the name of the product, in addition to at least one of the functions that they might do for you in your lighting setup. All right, so let's just take a look at this very simple but very efficient interface. So the first control I want to look at is on-off for both lights. So I can use that. That's going to turn the lights off. I also have an on-off control for each individual light. So the right-hand light is what I'm using as my actual key light in terms of lighting. Remember, back key light, fill light, backlight. And then my left-hand light is what I'm using for the fill light. So that's my key light, and over here is my fill light. So let's go ahead and change some settings on my key light. So the first one is the brightness control, which is pretty straightforward. I've got these at a low level of brightness to kind of accommodate the video that I'm doing here, but I can turn that up just by using the slider, and that will go very bright, as you can see. And then the second control that we've got is kind of the temperature control. What's the blue, red warmth setting? And that's a little more subtle. It is important, but it's a little more subtle to see. You can see though that that's the blue end of the spectrum, and over here is the red end of the spectrum. So you can control that warmth setting for your lighting. So that's pretty straightforward, pretty simple. It works very well. The only time I've ever had any difficulty is if I tried to have two different computers controlling the key lights at the same time. That does not work out so well. So you'll know that because it'll start really stuttering and that being difficult to control. And I would say you do not want two different computers trying to control the key lights at the same time. I want to give you another view of a lighting scenario. This one quite different from my studio with its black background and fairly simple setup. And to that end, I have hijacked a video that I've created for another purpose. This environment is more similar to what a lot of YouTubers are doing for their videos and live streams. A nicer environment with ambient light in the background and a true 3-point lighting setup with a key light, a fill light, and a backlight. So you can see the setup here. The key light, as I sit in this environment, is in front of me and to the left, and is a brand new light in my setup, a Godox SL150 Mark II. Very powerful light, and I actually intended to use it as the backlight. But what I use as the backlight is one of my Elgato key light airs because of its ability to match the color of the ambient lamp in the background. And then as I sit there, to my right and in front of me is the fill light, which is my other Elgato key light. Now this is obviously, as I indicated, quite a different environment for lighting, but the 3-point lighting makes a great deal of difference in the way that this presentation looks. And that is the point of the lighting, of course. So I definitely wanted to give you a view of a different type of lighting environment and talk about the fact that 3-point lighting is the way to go to really spice up and dress up your videos and your live stream. Those of you following closely might know that earlier in this video, I said that the key lights from Elgato might not necessarily be a backlight. Yet in that last segment, I found that the key light was a great backlight because of its ability to change the color temperature on the fly to match the light that was in the background. So I don't know that there are any hard and fast rules about what's a good backlight and what isn't. The Elgato worked great in that case. This is the conclusion of the 7th and final part of our live streaming from scratch series. I hope you've enjoyed the series, and leave a comment or suggestions down below. And we look forward to seeing you again for future Happy Place Home Studio videos and series.